Hi folks, it's Moz here and we're going to have another deep dive into the history of Airfix, and today we're going to look at the HAWKER Hurricane. So in my video about helicopters and Airfix, someone asked if I could do the HAWKER Hurricane, and I thought to myself, yeah, that would be a really good subject matter for a video. I use ScaleMates predominantly for my research. I also have Constant Scale to have a look at too, which is a little booklet that basically lists all of Airfix releases. So tonight we're going to go right the way back to 1957, where it all began, and then go through the toolings that Airfix have released on the HAWKER Hurricane. Before we start, I want to ask you all a question. How many times have Airfix tooled the HAWKER Hurricane? Is it 3? Is it 5? Or is it 8? Put it in the comments box below and I'll tell you the answer at the end of this video. So let's go back to 1957, where Airfix tooled a HAWKER Hurricane Mark IV RP. Now this was a bag kit, and you can see in the picture that the Hurricane had projectiles. These are rocket projectiles, which is what I believe RP stood for, or stands for I should say. It was released, as I said, in 1957, then again in 1959. Then there was an 8-year break where they boxed it in 1967. It was released again in 1973, in 76, and the last time we saw it was in 1979. But by that time they had released a new tooling of this HAWKER Hurricane, and this one kind of fell off the map. And that was basically it. So throughout that decade of the 60s, Airfix didn't even look at the HAWKER Hurricane in any scale and went back to producing other models. And it wasn't until the 1970s where we see Airfix releasing more HAWKER Hurricane tooling. And again in 1972, it was the Hurricane Mark IV RP in 1/72nd scale. So new tooling for this. And Airfix released this 15 times, so from 1972, then in 73, 75, they released it once in the 1980s, and then released it 6 times in the 1990s. Then in the noughties, they released it 6 times, and the last time they released this particular tooling was in 2011, and we've not seen it since. Now, after the success of the Spitfire in 1/24th scale, Airfix 3 years after that released the 1/24th scale HAWKER Hurricane Mark I. They released it again in 1976 and then again in the 70s, and then there was a gap right up to 1990 when they released it one more time in a new box. Then a 15-year gap, and they released it again in a new box, and then 2011, 2014, and then finally last year they released it in a vintage classic, so basically into their Hall of Fame, and that was the last time we have seen that 1/24th scale in our model shops. So 8 times that tooling was released by Airfix. Now we move on to 1978, and again Airfix released a HAWKER Hurricane in 1/72nd scale, but this time they produced the Mark I. It has been released 15 times over the years, 3 times in the 1980s, 3 times in the 1990s, and 5 times in the noughties. And the last time we saw this tooling boxed was in 2010, when they reboxed it with new decals. And then in 1979, they finally released a HAWKER Hurricane Mark I in 1/48 scale. And that tooling was released 8 times in total. And the last time Airfix released this particular 1/48 Hurricane was in 2013, and that was the last time we saw it. I don't believe this could be a vintage classic. There's something about it. I don't think it will, because they did retool the 1/48 at a later date. So you could say this kit has been retired. Right, just jumping in here very quickly to ask a bit of a favour. If you are not a subscriber yet, but you are enjoying the content on my channel, will you please consider becoming a subscriber? It's really simple. All you have to do is click subscribe, ring that bell, click all to be notified when I release a new video. Also, if you're liking this video, will you please give it a thumbs up by clicking the thumbs up button? And if you have a question or a query, or you know something that I don't know about the HAWKER Hurricane from Airfix, will you please drop a comment below? That would be excellent. Anyways, let's get back to the video. And according to Scalemates, there was a over 30-year gap between the last tooling that Airfix did of a Hurricane into a new one which came on our workbenches in 2010. A 1 to 72nd scale HAWKER Hurricane Mark II-C. But this is the first time they also released it as a Sea Hurricane. It has only been released twice, and the second time this tooling was released was in a club pack. So if you're an Airfix club member and you sign up for the year, this would be one of the kits you would get. And they repackaged this as a 70th anniversary special limited edition Hurricane 2D. So if there is going to be a Hurricane to be released in the near future, could it be this one? Interesting. Then in 2013, Airfix released a brand new tooling of the HAWKER Hurricane Mark I. And this one has become a pure staple of Airfix's releases. So as I said, tooled in 2013, it has been released now 10 times in total, and they've used it for almost everything. This kit has been released 6 times between 2010 and 2019, but it was in 2020 when they put it in a particular model set. And you will recognize this model set because it has the numeric value of A6 at the beginning. And that is the kit that you will find in Aldi and Lidl when they do their starter set specials, Christmas time, and sometimes just after the summer holidays. And finally, this year they are reboxing it as a HAWKER Hurricane Mark I with a new scheme. So if you'd like to pre-order this kit with these schemes, there'll be a link in the description box below where you can pick up this HAWKER Hurricane, or at least pre-order it from the Airfix website. And finally, 10 years ago, 2015, Airfix retooled the 148 HAWKER Hurricane Mark I. It has had 5 releases from that first release in 2015, and the last time they released this kit was 2020. So 5 years ago now since we've seen the HAWKER Hurricane 148 re-released with either a new scheme or new parts. And that's basically the history of the HAWKER Hurricane. I have found one boxing of a Hurricane that Airfix released that actually wasn't their tooling. It's the only one I found, and that's Hella. In 1989, they released a commemorative set for the Battle of Britain 50th anniversary, and it was a 1/72nd scale HAWKER Hurricane Mark II-C, which basically Airfix colours, but it was a Hella tooling inside. I think Hella had borrowed Airfix tooling more than the other way around, but yes, that's just one that I found on Scalemates that Airfix released Hurricane-wise that wasn't their tooling. There may be others. If there are, leave them in the comments box below. Well, there you go. That was a complete kind of history of Airfix and the Hurricane. So let's do some maths, shall we? So there was one 1/24th scale HAWKER Hurricane, there was 2 1/48th scale HAWKER Hurricanes, and there were 5 1/72nd scale HAWKER Hurricanes tooled by Airfix. So if you saw the question at the beginning of the video, how many times has Airfix tooled the Hurricane? It was in fact 8 times. So if you got that correct, give yourself a round of applause. Leave a comment if you got it right as well. Also, another fun fact, Airfix over these years have released 104 Hurricanes, whether it's model sets, new decals, new parts, starter sets. there have been 104 different boxings of those toolings. So another fun fact for you there. I really do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, would you give it a like? If you're not a subscriber, will you please consider becoming a subscriber? All you have to do is click subscribe, and as a bonus, if you ring that bell, click all, you'll be notified when I release a new video. Huge shout out goes to my channel members who help me financially with this channel. If you'd like to become a channel member, just click join below and select which membership tier you so wish. We have a live stream on the Thursdays where we work off our workbench and we talk about scale modelling whilst we're building a model, and we discuss techniques and we talk about the news in scale modelling. If you'd like to become part of that family, then please become a member. In one of the four corners will be a playlist or a video of other content from my channel. If you'd like to click that, do click that. And I want to wish you a fabulous week ahead, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.